I want to first say good morning and thank you guys so much for being here for digital tools and for interactive lessons. We'll be going over multiple tools and applications today for interactive lessons. So I'm going to be going not super quick, but I am going to be doing an overview of each of these with some links and some resources for you to go a little bit more in depth on your own as well. So I'm Christina Carnes. I'm an instructional coach for BPS Technology or OIIT, depending on where you are, it's how you call it. I'm joined today by my colleague, Nick. And
hi, everybody.
He's going to be facilitating the chat piece today. So if you have any questions as I'm going through today, if you would like me to speed up or slow down or repeat something, go ahead and put that in the chat. Nick will be monitoring it. He can answer any questions as they come up if it's not directly related to something that I'm showing you, if it's more of a in general question. Or if he can't, he'll just be able to stop me at a good time and let me know, hey Christina, you need to go back or somebody's asking for this. I'm also going to build in some pauses, and so if you want during that time to unmute yourselves and ask those questions when I say, are there any questions, and give some time for that, then by all means feel free to unmute yourself. Otherwise, please keep yourself muted while I'm speaking, and then unmute yourselves when you're talking too. This webinar is being recorded. Towards the end of the webinar, Nick will share our feedback form in the chat. And he'll do that at the end because there are some feedback pieces that we really take into consideration when we're doing our planning for future webinars. And it's also a way for you to be able to get credit. So once you've completed this hour, you do the feedback form. There are 2 reflection questions, and you have a choice. I think it's between like 4 of them, and you can choose to fill that out, and then that will count as, this will count as 1 hour towards your 5 hours that are directed by the MOU. And it looks like everybody has their names, so that's great. I don't think we have to worry about that. All right, let's dive in. So as I said before, this is an overview of multiple tools. So the first 3 tools that we go over are going to be a little bit more in-depth, and then I'm going to do a very brief overview of our 4th tool today. If you want to go deeper on a tool on your own outside of this webinar time, what I did was in each of the slides in the slide deck, you'll see a logo for the tool that we're talking about. If you click on that logo, there'll either be a tutorial, it'll link right to a tutorial, or a document with FAQs or step-by-step instructions to help you through that tool. And so that'll give you some resources to go a little bit deeper. And then we also have our office hours available. So each day there's a 1 hour block, and you can see it in our schedule and our calendar, which is linked here. That you can come in and ask specific questions. So if you're trying this on your own and you get stuck someplace, that's a great place too. I'll also be emailing you a copy of the slide deck and a copy of the recording of our webinar today. So you can always respond back to me and ask any questions that you might have. All right, let's get into edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is one of my favorite sort of tools to use video in the classroom. What I love about edpuzzle is that it is a way for you to share videos with your students, videos that either you find on your own or that you've created, or videos that come from the edpuzzle curated library of materials. And they might come from YouTube or TED Talks or Khan Academy. But what's great is once the video's in edpuzzle, you can add in questions, notes, or like little quizzes that the students, it'll pause while the student is watching the video, ask the questions, however many you would like, and then it won't let them continue with the video until they've responded or answered the question. So it's really kind of cool. A couple things that you should know is that it does sync really well with Google Classroom. Students and teachers are both they must log in through Google with your Boston Public Schools credentials. And then just a word of caution, Edpuzzle, they do a really great job of curating materials and vetting them really nicely. However, it's still open source. People are sharing videos from, like I said, YouTube is one of the ways to do that. And so I would just strongly encourage you to watch the video all the way through prior to assigning it. And then here for later, for some reading for you if you want, there's an article on Edpuzzle and specifically how it's being used right now through this in distance learning. So let's go to the Edpuzzle site. So as a teacher, so again, you're going to be able to see the teacher view of everything that I'm doing on my screen. After I'm done doing the teacher view with everybody and going over that, I'm going to give you some time to play around with it on your own, and that's where that try me piece comes in on my slide deck. So right now, you're just following along, kind of seeing the back end part where you as a teacher are going to be able to set up Edpuzzle videos for your students. So it just automatically logged me in, and you can see that it logged me in. It already, this is my maiden name, it already knew that I was here, and I logged in with Google. I'm just gonna show you what that looks like here. I wanted to make sure that I chose that I'm the teacher, and I could do it like this, but this is the best way right here, sign in with Google. That way, you're making sure that you're signing in with your Boston Public Schools. And I recommend doing that because a lot of the different apps, they give you a little bit more sometimes if you log in with your school credentials. So I will always be logging in with my school credentials. So then it takes me here. This is my sort of home page, things that I've looked at before. I'm going to direct you to this left-hand side here. They have this content section. If you go into curriculum, here's where you can find videos that have been curated by Edpuzzle for content that works for you and your students based on grade level and subject area. So it really breaks it down nicely. So let's take a look in middle school. I'm going to choose ESL, and then it takes us even further in and gives and it takes us even further. So you can do it this way if you're just trying to explore, but you can always just do a search. You can search all middle school content if you're looking for something particular and you want it to be within this library here. They also have popular channels. They have their Edpuzzle curated channel. They pull from YouTube, Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, you name it. This is all content and videos that are already here for you. So you know that they've been vetted by the Edpuzzle team, which is nice. Now, if I go to, actually, let me do it through here. I think this will be a good one. So you're going to be able to see when I'm in the Edpuzzle library here, and I could search, for something specific if I wanted to, but I'm going to show you this here. So you can see that it shows you the number of minutes that the video is, the title, and then you'll notice that on some of them, it has this little sort of balloon pointer piece. And it says this one contains 8 questions and notes. So this one already has been sort of edited, and there's been questions added to it by the Edpuzzle team. This one right here doesn't have that. So this one is a fresh video that doesn't have any questions or notes attached to it just yet. So I'm going to choose one that's here in the Edpuzzle library. And I see there that it doesn't have any questions attached to it. So once I click on it, I can edit it. And I have quite a few options here. I can watch the video. I can cut the video at the beginning or at the end, or both, to make the video shorter, either less time at the beginning, or if I want a specific clip and I don't need the whole 8 minutes. I have that option there. I can also do a voiceover. So me as the teacher, I can go to a specific part, and then I can do a voiceover, pause it, and I can do a voiceover, and I can add the voiceover anywhere in the video. And then here's where those questions, so I can do multiple choice, open-ended, or I can add a note. Here's where I would write my question, and then the different answer choices, and then I can actually determine which one is correct or not. And then it will actually, when I show you the grade book part, it'll give the students a grade. If you have it just be multiple choice, it'll automatically grade it for you as well. It saves automatically. I go ahead and hit finish, and then I would be able to go ahead and share this with my students. And so let me see how to. Okay. So now, if I want to assign this to the students, I can assign it directly to a Google Classroom. I'll show you in a moment that if you go into your classes, it'll give you the option to link it to your Google Classroom, which is awesome. So I can link it to my Google Classroom. I can choose that here. What's nice about edpuzzle is that not only does it speak to Google Classroom speaks to it as well. They do this back and forth. So it'll pull in on the edpuzzle end, it'll pull in your rosters. So you'll be able to see your students' names and list it out how they're doing in edpuzzle. And then you can also make assignments right from edpuzzle into your Google Classroom and hit assign, and that'll come up as an assignment in the classwork section of your Google Classroom. You can choose your start date and your due date. Here's where you can prevent skipping. So you can choose yes or no if you want the students to be able to skip a question and just keep watching, or if you want it to stop them there, they can't go any further into the video. And what's really nice is you can see how much of the video that the students watched. You can turn on closed captioning, and you can choose to post to Google Classroom. Up here, you have content, gradebook, and classes. If I go to my classes, it already has my Google Classroom classes, and I can tell it's a Google Classroom because it says Google Classroom here, but also because it has this little icon for Google Classroom. For you, when you go into edpuzzle as a teacher and you sign in, it'll say the first time, do you want to link it to your Google Classroom? And this is where you would say yes. And then if you want to change anything, you can do it in the options. So I'm going to pause here, go back to this. This link right here is going to take you to edpuzzle to try out from the student perspective edpuzzle. So you can see a video that I shared with you. So if I have content, let me see this one. I can share it in Google Classroom, or I can share the assignment as a link, which is what I did for all of you. I gave you a link to a video that had some questions in it. And then I was able to just link it here in my presentation. That's another option instead of sharing it with Google Classroom. So I've shared this with you. Feel free to look at it right now for the next about 5 to 6 minutes to play around with it on the student end, or you can go right to edpuzzle.com like I did, log in as a teacher and play around with it that way. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give us till about 10:25 to play around with this, and for you to ask any questions in the chat, or go ahead and unmute yourself. If you feel like you're ready to go, just ignore anything that I'm saying, answering questions, and do your thing. But feel free to ask the questions.
Christina, we have a question from Lucy Montgomery. When you modify a video, is it saved as that version? Or do you still have to? Will you still have access to the I guess the original video?
Yes.
Okay.
Great question, Lucy. So there are a couple ways to do that. So if I go into, let me find a video that I haven't done. I can either make a copy for myself. So if I duplicate it, it'll save this one for me, this full one, and then I'll be working in a secondary duplicate so that I have access easily to both. But editing it isn't going to change it for the whole Edpuzzle community. So you don't have to worry about that. So you can always search for it again and find the intact video. If you're doing it with a video that you're uploading, and I can show you guys at the end how to upload it yourself, you may want to duplicate it, make a copy so that you have access to your original, and then that you're working with the duplicate. Monica, were you able to get in by going to edpuzzle.com? Okay. So if you go to your web browser, can you get to Chrome? If you go to Google Chrome, you can go into your, up here, and you go to www.edpuzzle.com. If my screen is taking over yours, you can double click on my screen to make it smaller so you can open up your own window, browser window. And if you're still having trouble, if you just want to put that in the chat, any specific questions, then Nick should be able to walk you through that. Okay, I want to make sure that you're able to follow along with us. All right, so I hope everybody had an opportunity to look through edpuzzle. I'm sure it's not nearly enough time to, really kind of dive in deep. But if there are any questions specific to edpuzzle or any of the ways that you can interact with it, just post those in the chat, and myself or Nick will be able to respond to you there. The last piece of edpuzzle I wanted to show you is this page right here, my content. So in this left-hand side, I clicked on my content. This is where you can add content. I'm going to show you the next app in a second, or the next tool in a second, where you're creating a video as a teacher. And then what you can do is you can save your videos that you create and upload it here. And then you can share it out and add any questions you want to it and share it out with your students. You can actually create a video right from here as well. So there are a few options to play around with once we get into our next tool. So unless there are any urgent questions right now about edpuzzle, I'm going to move on to Screencastify. Now, I'm going to show you the back end of Screencastify first, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to download the Google Chrome extension of Screencastify and to play around with it yourself. So the first thing that you should know about Screencastify is that it really works nicely with your Google Chrome and Google Drive. So it's an extension, so it's easily, readily available for you. And then whenever you make a recording, so you're recording your screen through Screencastify. So just like right now, I'm sharing my screen with you live. I could make a recording of all the things I'm doing on my screen and then share a link with you so that you could watch it on demand, however you want to watch it. So you can do that with Screencastify. And then once you create that video, it automatically saves it into your Google Drive. Couple of little caveats. One, the 15-minute time limit on Screencastify. So these are more for shorter lessons or tutorials for 15 minutes. And then there's an editor tool. That's a 4-day free trial only. Really, I don't see a huge need for the editor tool. You can still crop your videos in the regular tool. The editor tool is like a little bit more advanced, the video editing that you could do through them, or I think if you were really into that, you could do it through like a third-party application for editing. It's really not necessary for this. I just didn't want people to see that and be like, oh man, I tried it and now I can't use it again. And then you can save and edit in QuickTime if you needed to as well. Okay, so we're not going to try it out just yet on your end, but I'm going to show you what it looks like as a teacher. So I don't really have to go anywhere. What's really nice about Screencastify is that it is a extension to my Google Chrome. So I don't know if everybody can see my cursor. I'm moving it around like crazy right now so you can see this little piece right here is with the 1 on it is Screencastify. And that's where it's going to show up for you as well on this right-hand side next to your web address little window here. So here's Screencastify. So let's say I want to walk my students through my presentation so they can hear my voice, see my face, and see my screen. I'm going to, once I've downloaded this, I'm going to click on it. And it's going to do nothing. I don't know what its problem is right now. It's very strange. Sorry, bear with me here. This has never happened before. Weird. Huh. Well, this doesn't look good for me. I found it. There we go. Just took a second. All right, we're back on track. So here's Screencastify. You shouldn't have that problem. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm sharing my screen. Sometimes when I share my screen, things get a little bit wonky and slow. So hopefully, you never have this issue here.
Yeah, Christina, I didn't run into that problem.
Okay. So here we go with Screencastify free. Now, you want to make sure that your microphone is on and your webcam is on. That is going to do this little kind of test here. And then you can choose if you want your webcam only, so it's only recording you and your face. If you want it to record your desktop, which means that any window that you open up, it's going to show. So I can go, and open up a brand new tab or another application, and it'll still record that one. Or I could do a browser tab. So the only thing that it'll record is the tab that I'm currently on. So if I went to another tab, it wouldn't follow me there. The recording wouldn't follow me there, if that makes sense. There are more options that you can go into if you want, but I'm just going to go right to record here. And what's going to happen is it's going to ask me if I want to share, which screen I want to share. So I have two screens that I use. So I can choose my entire screen, or I can choose an application window. So I have two different applications open. I have Google Chrome open, and I have my Zoom open. So I can choose that as well. I'm going to choose my entire screen, which means if I wanted to show you Zoom and Google Chrome, I can do that. And so that's what I'm going to choose here. And you can hear that it just counted down for me. And I can see on the extension, this little red dot. This little red dot is telling me that I am currently recording. And then it's also telling me that the screen video recorder is sharing my screen. I can see here that you can see my little face. If you want that or don't want that, you can choose that you don't want it there. And let's go into another option here. I can also do, I'm sorry, I apologize. For some reason, my Screencastify is being funny today, but down here, I can see that I have a few options. I can, there it is. This is what I was looking for. I can pause from here. I can choose that if I want my mouse to be sort of spotlighted, if I'm going through like something specific. I can choose that it highlights my clicks as well. Or I can just have it be normal. Get rid of that. I can draw right on my screen anywhere I want. And I can go ahead and erase that as well. And then here I can choose if I want my webcam, which is over here on the side, which is a picture of me, on or off, and I can do that. And then I can choose stop sharing. Once I do that, as soon as I click that, it's going to take me into the back end page of my video. So as soon as it stops my video, it's going to bring me automatically to this page here. I can change the title. And I can cut it, make it shorter if I need to. I can choose to share it to directly to Google Classroom or publish it on YouTube if I want. And this is the really kind of cool part, I think. It automatically goes directly into your Google Drive. So you don't have to do anything. It just saves it for you in your Google Drive. You could also provide you with your shareable link. So you don't have to go into Google Drive, open it, get the link. You can just hit copy shareable link and then go on your way and share that with whoever you want to see your video. Or you can view it right inside of your Drive. You can share it directly to your Google Classroom by clicking on that. It takes you to Google Classroom. You go through the same steps that you would if you were to post a link in Google Classroom, going through it. And it does that right there for you. And then you can also download it. So if you were going to use it, like let's say you were going to upload it to edpuzzle, you want to download it to your computer as well. And that's really more for if you were going to use it with a different app that you would want to download it to your computer. And so now I have this all set, ready to go. It's already saved. If I go to my Google Drive, it lives right in my Google Drive now. And I could always search for it. I called it webinar 2. So if I go into my Google Drive and I search for webinar 2, this will come up and it's ready for you. So here's what I'm going to have us do right now. Before I go any further and show you how we can incorporate it and do an app smash with edpuzzle, I'm going to pause. I'm going to give you the opportunity to download the extension onto your Google Chrome and ask any questions that you have in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions now that I see in the chat, and I'll give people some time to go ahead and try it out on their own. So if you click this try it out right here on my slide deck, it'll take you right to the place where you can download this extension.
Christina, we got a question from Kimberly Doyle. And she wants to know if she can use Screencastify for read alouds. And she wants to know if there's a way to reverse the screen while she's doing the read aloud so that it isn't backwards while she's reading.
I don't know, Kimberly. That's something that maybe we'd have to do a little bit of research on during this time and see if we can figure it out and then maybe get back to you in a couple of minutes.
All right. I searched everywhere
okay.
and couldn't figure it out. So I figured maybe I would ask you because it's super, like to have the book up. What I've done to kind of help myself is that I make it so that the book takes up the entire screen and nobody sees my face because it's the only way, because it gets so tricky moving the book around. So
do you just hold it up to your camera?
I do, yes.
Okay. And so you want to know if there's a way you can reverse that because it comes in backwards.
Well, I was thinking, and the kids don't see it backwards, but I was hoping like they could see my face while I'm doing a read aloud, But, you know, I don't think there was, like I searched everywhere, but, you know, like I said, I just figured I'd ask the pros.
So,
yeah,
I'm wondering if you could do that through Zoom though, in terms of, are you trying to just make a recording or are you trying to do it with them live?
No, I was just doing a recording. And since it goes right to the Google Drive, it was just easy.
Christina, do you have anything on this? Do you know?
I don't, but let me ask, I'll bring that back to our team, Kimberly, and see if we can get you an answer by the end here today.
Okay.
Right. And so we're trying to think, okay, again, let me just to clarify, you want to have the book up on screen, but you also want to have a picture. You want to have an actual video of yourself reading it out.
Yeah, just sometimes I think it's nice when, you know, they can see our face.
Right. The only thing I'm worried about is then if that be the case and you need two cameras, because if you're holding the book up to the camera, it's not going to get your face too.
Oh, no, I know. But if I did an actual read aloud and didn't hold it straight up to the camera and like held it back and like showed the book like and turned the page like this, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you actually want to be like sitting down and having the camera record the entire, but then you wouldn't be able to get the text.
Right, they're K1, so.
Okay, so it would be more of a picture, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
I mean, if not, no big deal, because it worked the other way that I did it too by holding it right up to the screen. But you know, I just thought I would check.
Okay, I'm thinking, yeah, because I mean, you're occupying a lot of space with the book, and it depends. I mean, maybe you might be able to sit back a little bit more and then record yourself that way. You might be able to get your face in it on the top of the book. I'm thinking if you just kind of hold it back, and then you know have the book opened up over your chest, and then turn the pages that way, showing your thing to your entire camera.
Right.
I'm showing the book and your face to the camera.
Yeah, it was just hard. I like if you're holding it like this, and I don't know, it was just tough to like
Huh?
read it. And I don't know, I guess I'm not explaining myself well.
It
But
might be easier also too, just to use your phone to record yourself.
yeah, true.
You can, you know, if you could place your phone in such a way where you can, because the camera on your phone is a little easier to manipulate, obviously. And so if you can place that somewhere, and
Yeah,
then it'd probably be a little easier to do what you're saying with a phone.
right.
And then you can upload that to your computer and then use edpuzzle or Screencastify to work with it.
Okay, all right.
Try it with your phone and see how that goes.
I
And
will, thanks.
I think Christina is looking also for an excuse on the other end.
Okay.
No, I'm
Yes.
sorry, not excuse. I'm sorry, a workaround.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can do that, and then we can touch base with you one-on-one to if we can't get to something right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kim.
sure.
For everybody else, we have just under a minute, so we're gonna stay on here for about like one more minute for you guys in Screencastify. Let me know if you have any questions about the download. We're gonna come back together now. Somebody asked me what I'm using for the timer here. This is called Classroom Screen. It's just a website. You don't have to download anything. I just go to www.classroomscreen.com and it's pretty cool. The thing has it all here for you. Definitely something that I used, you know, when I was in the classroom, and that we're obviously still using here for distance learning. All right. So I hope Screencastify went well for everybody. If you got stuck anywhere with the download or with, you know, doing your own Screencastify, let me know in the chat and we can see if we can troubleshoot and help you out there. I'm going to just loop back to edpuzzle for a second. So I made that screencast. It saved it into my drive, but remember I also saved it, I downloaded it to my computer. So when I go back to my edpuzzle, I can add content and I'm gonna upload a video. I can just drag the file if I want and just drop it in there because it was saved here, or I can find it from my downloads folder on my computer. It's gonna upload it. It actually does take a little while, but it's gonna upload it, and then it'll let me add in my own questions, another voiceover if I needed to, and it's gonna take a little while to prepare it. But I can do anything that I did with any of those other videos that I showed you before, I can do with my own. So for instructions or for a lesson, and you want to ask some questions after, get the students involved in a pre-recorded lesson of yours, this is a really cool way to do that. And we call that an app smash, where you're bringing the two apps together. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is Nearpod. Nearpod is a really cool tool. It's a presentation tool, so the content comes through looking like a slideshow almost, except that each slide you have the option to make it interactive. Not only that, but when you share the slide deck the slideshow with your students. You give them a code. You can choose if you want them to do it self-paced where they go through it on their own, or if you want to go through it with them. So when you turn to the next slide, all of their devices automatically turn to the next slide. And so it's a great way to do some interactive work with your students and still be following slides. Currently, Nearpod has expanded what they're offering for free, which is really cool. So during this time of distance learning, they've expanded their library. And also through Boston Public Schools, if you have English language learners, and during this time and just for the rest of the year, if you're teaching English language learners, they do have some licenses that are district licenses for that and for special education as well. So what I'm going to do is when I give you guys the email at the end of this to share with you the slide deck and the recording, I will add in the link for you to sign up to get the expanded Nearpod as well. So I'm going to show you the teacher end of it today, and I'm going to actually let you guys be the students and try it out. So what I'm going to do is go to Nearpod. Log in. I'm going to log in with Google for teachers. For students, when they go to join a lesson, you're going to be generating a code for them as the teacher. And when they go to nearpod.com, they're going to put in that code that you provide for them. Okay. So here's your Nearpod home screen. So this is a very important piece, is where it says My Library versus the Nearpod lesson library. For whatever reason, it brings you directly to your library. If you go to search for a lesson in here and you don't have any lessons in your library, nothing's going to come up. It's the Nearpod lesson library that you want to always go first and click on. The reason for that is now when you go to search for a lesson, you can find it throughout their entire library. Like I said, right now they've expanded their free library, which is really kind of awesome. So I'm just going to choose a lesson. They have it for all grade levels, all subject areas. They have it for digital citizenship, for social emotional. I mean, like, the sky's the limit. What they have too is these VR lessons. Sometimes they do virtual field trips in virtual reality where you can like sort of like do a 360 view of a place. Let's just take a look here. I'm just choosing the 6 through 8 because when I was using it, that's what I was using. So I'm a little bit more familiar with just some of the lessons. I can pick a good one for you. So you can see when it has this little piece here, it's the VR. So we're going to just choose this nature vocabulary lesson. They have this great curated library. You can also create your own. So if you have PowerPoints or Google Slides lessons that you want to bring into Nearpod, you also have that opportunity to do that. As the teacher, I can preview this lesson. Each lesson will give you some teacher guides, guiding questions, and objectives. And then you can see that each slide is interactive. So you could do open-ended questions. When your students get to this slide and they enter a response in here, then you as the teacher will be able to read all of your students' responses when you share this lesson with them. Show you another. This is, they have virtual tours in some of theirs. So I can do this. I can go zoom in, I can zoom out, I can search in a 360 sort of really kind of cool way. You can add and edit these too. So I can hit save. So I want to save this lesson. This is a lesson that I want to work with because I'm like, okay, this works for my class. This is great. So I just hit save. Then I go back to my library. So now I do have a lesson in my library. I can edit this. You can either edit the lesson itself or you can duplicate it if you want to keep the original. It's not going to affect anything that happens in the bigger Nearpod library, so you can directly edit the lesson if you want to. Again, it's this kind of similar to Edpuzzle. If you want another clean copy for yourself in your library, great, but you'll always be able to search for the original. And then it shows you the different slides here. You can add in your own slides to a lesson that they've created, which is really cool. And when you add in your own slide, you have an option to add in content, web content, or an activity. So when I go to add content, I can add just a regular slide. I can do a vocabulary video from their library. I can do 3D from their library. I can add set simulations. They have a huge array of places that are VR field trips. I can do the graphing calculator, sway video. They have all these different things. I can also add an activity. This is a game, a little quiz game, open-ended, matching pairs. You can even app smash it with Flipgrid if you want. So it takes the kids and they can create their own videos of themselves and share that back with you in the class. Collaborate is sort of like Padlet, if you're familiar with that, where you like give them a prompt or a question, the students will write an answer and then it'll go up on the board as like a little sticky note and everybody will be able to see it. A whole bunch of different options for you there. It's really, really fun. And then I can hit save and exit. And I can choose how I want to share this with my students. And this is what I'm going to share with all of you so that you have the opportunity to play around with it. We have about 6 minutes left, so I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes to get in here. I can choose it either as a live lesson or student paced. If I choose it as a live lesson and give you the code for my live lesson, when I move my screen, your screen will move too. If I give it to you as a student paced, and it's going to give me a code specifically for student paced, that you will get to do that on your own. And then I, as a teacher, can see the results for everybody in my class. But I'm going to show you the live lesson right now because you can't do that one on your own. So I'm going to give you this live lesson. Here's what I want you to do. I want you on your own to go to nearpod.com. Open up a new window and go to nearpod.com. Once you do that, you're going to join as a student and put in this code here. BPNUR. And if Nick could put that in the chat, BPNUR,
sure thing.
I can then go to the next page here. So participants, you're going to go to nearpod.com. You're going to join as a student. And then here, as the teacher, I can see who's joined in. So I see that you have your name here. You only need to just put your first name or nickname there. You don't need to fill out the whole thing. I think it gives you like 3 different options for names. Just throw in, you know, whatever name there. And I can see who's here. Now, if somebody could, who just got in there, just go to another window, like just click on something else that you have open. Like don't X out of this or anything, just like click into something else. When that happens, when you click into something else, I can see here that you're not participating, that you're not in the Nearpod lesson. So if I was to, let's say, go back to classroom screen myself, and I was a participant, as the teacher would see that this will turn red, and they'll be able to see that we're missing somebody, that they're not following along. All right, so I'm going to go as the teacher to the next page here, but the code is always going to stay up here. So if somebody gets kicked out or something, the code will just live right there. So now you can see on your screen that I'm taking you through. And I'm moving what's on your screen here. So this is what the teacher will see. Would you like to approve student comments before they're posted? I'm just going to say no here. And now this is an interactive slide for all of you. So you're going to share your thought on here. Just you can type anything and just post it. You can add a picture too. And then you'll see that when you post it, we all are going to be able to see what each other are posting. And then we can interact with one another's slides. And then for the teacher end of it, all of this is recorded, and I will be able to see student responses in my report. Hey, Nick, could you just share the feedback form with the group since we only have a couple minutes left?
Sure thing.
Thank you. And then I can go through and I can like it. And also as the teacher, if somebody posts something and it's inappropriate and I didn't catch it before, I can just hit delete, and I have the option as a teacher to do this. And then you can see here that, so I see a question, we can post interactive Google Slides on this so that kids can drag in correct answers. Yeah, there's a drag and drop option too. And you can do that on a slide that you create, or you can do it within a slide that Nearpod created. Yep. And you'll be able to see how students responded and if they did things correctly, and it gives you a whole back end of that. So see how down here, I can see somebody clicked off of Nearpod, and it tells me that Jared looks like he's not in Nearpod right now. He's in something else. And so I can give him a little shout out or a little reminder. Hey, come on back with us. So then here I can see responses and participation as I go through with my students. Pretty cool. And I'm sort of just taking you through this here. And then if we want to get out of it, I can just hit this back. You want to leave this session, you can resume it later, yes. And on my back end of it, I can see different reports and things like that. So I can see the report from this lesson. I can see who interacted with it. Because this was a teacher-led lesson and I was pushing you through it, it's not as important for me to be able to see like that you completed it all. But if it was a student-guided lesson and I wanted to assign it to you all so that you can do it on your own, and then I can go in and I can see how you responded, how you answered questions and things like that. Okay, I'm gonna pause here. Please go ahead and fill out that feedback form. That is how you will get credit towards your 5 hours of the MOU. It's also how I'm going to collect the information so I can send you the recording from today and the slide deck and anything else that I promised you. I have 2 more slides on here that we really, potentially weren't going to cover, and that's sort of what I shared earlier. But I did want to leave them in there because it still has some tips and just to kind of let you know what's out there, and some tutorials as well for News ELA. All right. Thank you, everybody. Please email me if you have any questions. You can respond to my email that I'm going to send you by the end of the day today, but also, here you go. That's my email address. Please feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions about any of the tools we went over today. I'm going to stop sharing.